Today is kind of a review from the last video. I talked about how Vietnam is getting rid of English classes and the process is kind of in the works, but it's not completely official, but it's kind of official, if that makes sense. If you've lived in Vietnam for a long time, or if you understand how the government works, you understand when things start becoming gossip, it becomes true real fast because the gossip overpowers the fact. The video was talking about how English was going to be removed from schools to the point where students don't have to learn English anymore. There's no point for them to learn it if they don't plan on leaving the country, getting a job that requires English, or if they're just lazy, right? So I got a lot of questions, mostly through email and stuff like that, asking how is this true? Why would they do this? Would this affect the immigration problems? Would this bring down tourism? Would this affect Vietnamese teachers that speak English? And I want to get into that today to an extent. So this can be kind of a cultural talk, if you will. And I'm going to go over an article that I had beautifully translated for you guys. If you try to translate Vietnamese to English, it gets kind of weird. But we did get that done. And I'm going to go over kind of surveys that were used to talk to different teachers, directors of these schools, and government officials, and what they think about it, and why this is actually going to go through, despite the common idea that this could actually take down tourism, because it will bring tourism down to an extent. I think a big amount, because a lot of the tourism, for say, are people that live here. You know, you got Western people that live here that spend a lot of money. They make 25, 30 million a month, and they spend it all here, right? Also, Vietnamese teachers that speak English, or at least teach English, they're going to lose a job, right? You have these English centers that have a lot, like if you've been to any of them, there'll be 9 to 10, 12 different Vietnamese staff that work there that speak English or don't. Won't those jobs be depleted as well? So let's look at the survey and kind of break down what's going on with this, so get a better understanding what is about to come. If you didn't see the other video, make sure you check it out. I'll try to put a card or something up here. I don't know how that works. It breaks down what's actually happening and it gets you ready, because even though they're getting rid of English, it doesn't mean all hope is gone. There are solutions, but it's only going to be the very few of you that actually make it out here as an English teacher, pretty much starting soon. Because again, this is starting 2025, which means only the 11th and 12th grade students will have to take this English exam. Anybody 10th grade and below will no longer have to take this exam, meaning primary schools, secondary schools will no longer offer this, or at least force it onto their students, because it's not required. And if you've worked at these bigger English centers, or even smaller ones, most of their money comes from primary and secondary students. This is eliminating those students. Let's get into the article. Let's not speculate too much. So here we go. Here's my little face. Here's the article. So again, this was translated with Google, so there's going to be a lot of weirdness. I'll kind of filter through what it means. But anyways, the proposal graduation exam for only 2 subjects is a good option. When you graduate school, or you take your exam to graduate high school, you take between 4 to 6, as they call complementary classes. These are pretty much primary. If you've lived in the West, typically we have like 7, right? Like our history, writing, math, stuff like that. We have to pass these or we can't actually graduate. And that's what this is. What they're thinking though is they want to reduce that down to like 2 and then have 4 of them electives. So the student can actually select what they take. So they have to pass literature, they have to pass math. But they don't have to take English. They could just take history. They could just take modern art. And if they pass those, they graduate high school. So that's kind of where this is going. So proposal for high school graduation exams from 2025. Grade 11 and 12 are going to be the last students this will actually affect. With there it is, compulsory and 2 subjects selected as a combination, help reduce the pressure for constraints. If you've ever worked at a school in Vietnam, primary, secondary, high school, I think, and I know people are going to give me like nonsense for this, but I believe Vietnam is some of the easiest education in Asia. All schools in Vietnam, after I think it's like 10:30 or 11, the kids have to go home. They can't stay at the school anymore. So the parents have to come pick them up, and then they sit at home playing on their phone, or they sleep, or they eat, whatever. And then they go back. And then during classes and between classes, typically there's 10 to 30 minute breaks in between every other class, where they're just kind of playing on their phones and stuff like that. And in general, if you compare Vietnam education to like South Korea, Japan even, it's insanely night and day. Like Japanese are literally hurting themselves. I can't say the correct word, but they literally hurt themselves if they don't make exams. And they can't buy their test scores like you see like Vietnam or Thailand. When I saw this, I just thought that was hilarious, because it's like if you took away the iPhone, 80% of the stress and time wasted in Vietnam schools would be eliminated. You could actually give these kids 9 exams and they'd be okay at that point. But anyways, the Ministry of Education and Training has published results from the comments options from organize the high school graduation exam since 2025. Now, the reason I say only 11th to 12th grade are affected by this is because if this passes, which it, again, we're getting into why I pretty much think this has already, this will only affect grade 11 and 12. 2025, when students have to take their final exam to graduate in 10th grade, it will already be passed. They won't be required English. So anybody 10th grade below won't even be required to take this new or take the old exam. I've talked to people in Fontia and also Dalat. A few of the schools have already changed the programs, the education programs for secondary, primary students already. And English isn't part of it no more. So it seems like those, I kind of give you a spoiler already to my conclusion, but I have already confirmed 2 different provinces have already made this official. There's more, but we'll keep going. During the survey, many experts and localists proposed additional candidates to take 4 subjects, including 2 required, now this is what we were talking about earlier, math and literature. So these are the 2 required. And then 2 electives that they have to select from a pool of different classes that could be including foreign language and history. So you'll have like, you can ideally take history and like, I don't know, science maybe, like whatever they want. Now the writer, again, translation, is a high school teacher. Consider the proposal graduation for only 2 subjects from 2025 is a good option because of the following reasons. Firstly, I hate people that put firstly. This exam option, I bet there's not even a secondly. Yeah, you know, a country that focuses on grammar. This exam option helps reduce exam pressure for candidates compared to the current graduation exam. The current graduation exam consists of 6 subjects. It's from 2025. There are 4 subjects. And the students will be more difficult to practice and take the exam. So the idea is they're trying to reduce 2 of the primary required classes down to 4. According to the consensus, they will take exams in 1.5 days instead of the current 2 days. So it'll be faster. The morning of the first day is a math exam, the afternoon literature exam, in the morning the second. So they're trying to kind of, I guess, shorten it. I don't understand. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. So they're saving half a day, which seems like just an excuse not to do anything. It doesn't seem like it's, I don't know how that benefits a student. The 2 sections and 2 selected subjects are in accordance with the complementary subjects and subjects subject to the 2008 General Education Program. Pretty much means they have to take these 6 classes, which kind of align internationally, so these students can go abroad. And they will have the general knowledge to be able to go to a university in Australia or Canada, something like that. Monday. Okay, I don't know what these dates mean. The percentage of candidates who have graduated for many years has nearly hit the 100% mark, so it's not necessary to take 5 or 6 subjects because it's very expensive. Now, so candidates who have graduated for many years hit the 100%. So mark means grade in Vietnamese. The fact that a school has every student getting 100% is just like, how that doesn't red flag the common sense of people like, that doesn't seem right. Or this is this is better than Harvard. Damn. But like, I think about America, like most schools average, like it's like 72. I was looking at this up a couple of days ago in Portland, Oregon. And the average back in like 2010 and whatnot for graduation, it was like 63% that pass. So there's like 30% that don't actually pass, or they barely pass, or they gotta retake a year, right? But somehow Vietnam is 100% down the table on everything, which is wild to me. So anyways, digressing. So in my opinion, after 2025, the education training should assign graduation exams to local exams themselves the same day as the definition test and the school examination. 2, the graduation exam just follow the requirements to do blah blah. The blah 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 focus more clearly on exams to universities. Now this is another thing too. I don't mean to blah blah blah, but I'm digressing too much, so I need to hurry up. If this goes through, universities are going to have an issue. Now, to get into a university in majority of all of Vietnam, especially in Da Nang, Hanoi, and Ho Chi Minh City, you need to have English. You need to have an IELTS exam of a 5.5 or higher. If English is no longer required by high schools, and let's just throw a number out. Let's say 85% of students, which sounds like a reasonable number, decide not to take English as a final elective, right? They're just like, I'm not going to learn English for 12 years. Why would I take the test? Universities are going to lose 85% of their potential clients, students, right? So universities are going to start having to take this into account, saying, okay, maybe we base it off their other scores, or maybe we require them, they have to at least take like a history class to get to our university. But they're not going to be able to get away with like saying you have to learn English at this point, because if schools are not even pushing it, and from what I've heard already, a lot of public schools are starting to rearrange their teachers, moving them from English teachers to like science and math teachers because they don't know where to put them now. And Western teachers, I've talked to two in Hanoi already, told me their schools have actually gotten rid of the teachers there. The foreign teachers. They've gotten rid of them. He was one of them. This is an issue universities are going to run into, is how do they accept students? Because no longer, the requirements will no longer be met by, like, again, hypothetically, 85% of the students, because English isn't required anymore, right? So as such, university colleges organize their own exams, or training institutions can work together to come up with a proposal, which I feel is too late. Again, these schools are already doing this stuff. So Vietnam is about money. Education in Vietnam is about money. English centers are a cash cow for people. This is what a lot of Vietnamese people do, because it's a cash cow. If you open an English center and just get one Western in there, you can turn your income from $1,000 a month to $20,000 a month. Easy. This is going to lead to them trying to like battle. Now, English centers are a different kind of like ballpark. Now, along with that, students are selected 2 subjects to take the exam, help themselves develop the forte, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, the 6 commission options affect choice of student subject, leading to inequities in the assignment. Teaching teachers means redundant local teachers affecting the course. Now, this, I had to ask a couple people about this. This redundant teacher typically means, and I didn't know this actually, I've been here forever, but a lot of schools will hire temp teachers that are Vietnamese to like sub-teach math or science. And this also means Western people. So they might have a class where it's like the Vietnamese person teaches English to these students 2 times a week, and then this native person comes in, or this Filipino teacher comes in for 1 time a week, or 1 time every 2 weeks to teach them. So this is what this is. So the idea of what this is talking about is that this is going to affect those people. This could get rid of them, or they might have to realign all this stuff, right? And this is what I was talking about yesterday in the video when I was talking about what this means for English teachers. That's really what this is. And this leads us to a contrary to a new program policy where they're trying to adjust the entire education system for 2025. What is Wednesday? There is an opinion that if only... Did you see that, guys? Let's go back and nitpick. Firstly, there was no secondly. Sorry, I had to. I hate people that start sentences with actually, and then they say firstly and never secondly. Like, I will sit there mentally and wait for them. What am I talking about? There is an option that if only 2 required and 2 subjects are selected, the student may neglect history and foreign language, but in my opinion, there's no bias. Now, bias means there's no harm. This is a translation issue in Google. The problem that the government sees in this is if they do this, students are going to not want to take English, because why? They hate it. Parents hate paying for these fees. Parents go to English centers. They send their kids there. Like every month, they're spending $5, $6, $7, $800, sometimes thousands of dollars to go to these massive English centers. What if they could save them? So this is an awesome thing. They no longer have to worry about English. They don't have to worry about this extra class, these extra tests, this university pressure to get to Ho Chi Minh University. Right? They don't need this no more. With what they're saying here, whatever Mr. Wednesday is saying is there's no issues that they see. Just get rid of it. Who cares, right? That's kind of what they're saying. So, blah, blah, continuing education program regulates component subjects including literature, math, history, 3 required subjects, and 4 subjects among geography, economic, legal, education. What? Physics, chemistry, biochemistry, information technology. Like, this should be a requirement. Education is so whacked, man. Like, even in America, they don't teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to earn income, and how to use AI and stuff. If you don't know how to do that stuff, I would say you'd work at McDonald's, but even McDonald's is being taken over by robots. So, but yeah, these are kind of like, these are the subjective ones. No, not subjective. The optional ones. You get to pick from this list. Like, this is what I want to do. Anyways, for decades, English has been a subject in the curriculum in the vast majority of countries around the world. However, this one surprised me. I already knew a few of these, but Northern Europe, I did not know they were actually trying to remove English. China, we all know about the political move they did like 3 months ago. Iran, I just don't know anything about Iran like that. South Korea kind of surprised me. In France, I mean, who cares? But yeah, but they're all saying the removal of the subject, which is interesting. A lot of other countries started to remove English, which is, I don't know, what do you guys think about that? I feel that's why, because AI, computer science, engineering, math is all in English. And I'm not saying English is the best language in the world. It's just been the selective language forever. When it came to like moving forward, like you go back 5,000 years, the modern language was like Hebrew and other languages. It came forward, and Asia became Chinese and written calligraphy, right? And then it moved forward to where Vietnamese has their own accents, and Latin, and then English came out a lot. Like, we keep evolving, but during the English evolving of the language, AI, tech, IT, all this stuff was generated and created. And to change all that, even with the help of AI, to like a completely new language is like wild. And that's kind of where I find it interesting that these countries are dropping, like, especially South Korea. That seems weird to me. And then Northern Europe, like, what is it like UK or Scotland or something? I don't know. But anyways, Mr. and Mrs. Thursday, my personal opinion is that the current graduation exam is actually just one of many forms of testing, assessing students' capability, therefore assembly of quality of the teaching and learning activities in high school. Therefore, they say some stupid words. Organizing a 5 or 6 section exam is not as important as objective assessment of quality of the teaching and learning abilities. See, this I see what they're saying. Stop giving us so many tests. Let's focus on few and make sure they're doing better at the few instead of doing average on a lot of them. The problem, though, is, again, we talked earlier, like, people cheat on these tests. Like, teachers sell the freaking test. You go to Facebook, you go to Zalo groups, people have adverts that literally say, pay to buy this test, pay to learn this test. This is something about Vietnam education is the students learn the test. They don't learn the material. If they go to school for 10 years to learn English, and then they go to a Western country, they don't know how to say anything outside of like the list of things that they wrote down in a notebook for 10 years. You know, students that learn math in Vietnam don't know how to use practical math. Like, math in Vietnam is horrible, but the problem with it is not the people, it's just the education process. They don't learn practical math. They don't learn practical science. Like, I was a STEM teacher when I was in Saigon, and the science and biology stuff we learned, it was so robotic and binary. It wasn't practical. They didn't know what to do with this information. We taught them stuff about biology and genes and genotheory and all this stuff, but they didn't know how to use it because we never practically taught them anything about it, but we weren't allowed to. Like, which sucked because I'm an engineer and I want to blow things up. I want to throw potassium in water. I want to make little rockets out of sugar. You know, like, I want to do that stuff, but they're like, no, we can't. No, there's no reason for that. Just have them memorize the book, David, and teach them the answers to the test so they can pass the test. And that's kind of what it comes back to is Vietnam studies for the test. They don't study for practicality. Kids aren't learning, like I said before, they're not learning how to balance a checkbook. They're not learning what crypto is. They're not learning what AI and IT is. They're not learning how to program. They're not learning like physics and quantum stuff. Like, that's important. You're learning basic stuff that was awesome for our parents' education, but has no value for us in 2023. It doesn't. Therefore, organized, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, Ministry of Education and Training and the local education sectors need to focus more. So like I was saying, the testing doesn't matter. They can't focus on the teachers are teaching them because they're all teaching them the test. I don't care how good of an English teacher you are. It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't at the end of the day for this education system, because at the end of the day, they have to pass that test. When these students take IELTS exams, they go to English centers and they pay extra money to study the prior IELTS exam so they can go in there and take the new one and ace it. That's the whole point. They don't care how to speak English. This is why Vietnamese, all they can say is, hello, my name is blah, I'm from here. What's your name? Where are you from? I like because it's good. I like because it's interesting. I'm very like. This is why a lot of Vietnamese are stuck on these like phrases. Is because that's all they're taught. I'm not saying they're all like that. Yeah, either way. Moreover, 2018 general education program requires textbooks, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of it on the article part. So this has already taken effect, guys. So the conclusion of this has already taken effect. This is already happening. This happened in Phan Thiet. This happened in Lazi. This happened in Dalat. This is happening in selected schools in Hanoi, the capital. This is happening in quite a few schools in District 1 and 3 in Saigon, which are the bigger, more expensive government-sized schools. So they're doing it to government schools. Like, well, they're doing it to schools where government children go, right? So this is happening. So if you're a teacher between the grade from primary or kindergarten, kindergarten, all the way up to 10th grade, things are going to change real fast. Native or not, it doesn't matter. English isn't going to go away. There's still going to be English centers. There's still going to be students that want to pass the visa exam to go abroad. There's still going to be students that want to open companies and work with Western people. Da Nang, for example, they have to know how to speak English and Russian. They're not going to get rid of it. And those kids, there's still going to be a big demand for it there. But with that being said, you're going to have to be the best of the best. You're going to have to crush it. So check out the books. They teach you how to be the best of the best teachers. So when you go to these demos, at this point, it doesn't matter if you're native or non-native. I've talked about this countless times. Filipinos in South Vietnam, Saigon, Dalat, Phan Thiet, Vung Tau are taking most of the jobs from native teachers because they speak better than Vietnamese teachers do. They speak English in general. Like, very well, actually. Their vocabulary is much higher than a Westerners. They know grammar better than we do. I don't know English grammar like that, but a Filipino does. And they have a degree in teaching English. Why wouldn't they? And at the end of it all, they pay them a lot less than they would pay me. They'd pay me $50 million a month to do the same thing they can pay them 30 to do. You know what I mean? And they're happy as hell with it because it is a lot more than back home. Vietnam sees that and they're like, well, we'll just hire the Filipina. She's a very sweet girl. She's smart, and the students love her. You know, and there's more commitment. Let's be real. Western people, we do a job for 6 months, we're out of there, right? If you're trying to come out here and teach, check out the books, know the lesson plans, the activities, get your CV on point. If you need a TEFL, check the link below. I get a lot of people asking me about doing live TEFL classes. I know somebody that owns the TEFL class in Saigon. I don't want to be a D to him, but in general, I think they're a waste of time. Because what are you doing, bro? Just get a TEFL online. Check the link below. It's like 50% off. Grab the student, do it online, get it done. You're done. Never expires. Come to Vietnam, work at a couple English centers. They will train you how to teach the students. You're done. You've saved yourself $800 and you're getting paid. TEFL classes, to me, I feel like you're paying them to teach for them. And they teach you the same thing you could learn just to do it yourself, right? So either way, I think that's it for now, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to get out of here. And till then, I will see you again.